Welcome loves to my YouTube channel. My name is VassaOlga. In today's video, we're going to be talking about basics. What if you have no makeup kit and you're maybe 15 or 14 or even 30, 40, 50, 60, and you want to start with this journey of makeup and you have no idea where to start with? Don't you worry, I got you covered because I have a lot of things to cover in today's video. This is going to be an educative video where we're going to be talking about certain things and certain problems that you might face. And I remember when I was right at the beginning of this journey, I had no idea what I needed to create beautiful makeup look, and it can be really expensive. Even drugstore products can be pretty much expensive. That's why I remember that I spent back then approximately a little less than $1,000 to purchase all my stuff, and that was quite a journey. I purchased some wrong colors for my contour. I purchased some wrong colors as a foundation, and that was a little bit hard for me. I'm not gonna lie. When you watch these videos and lots of this makeup gurus and makeup artists are showing you their makeup kits and they're showing lots of different products, you think, oh, it's really simple. I just go and purchase that. No, you don't. Unfortunately, to purchase some certain product, you have to know some basics that would help you out. And as for basics, I'm talking about undertones and some shades like complexion. Do you have deep tone complexion or it's super pale? Is it an olive skin tone? Is it cool tone, neutral tone, yellow undertone? And these small details you have to keep in mind before you go and purchase something. And let me tell you something really important right at the beginning of the video before we start and show you all the products that you would probably need to combine this first ever basic makeup kit so you would start doing everyday makeup look. And something that you would probably try to experiment with, and later on you can add to that. It happened about 2-3 years ago when one girl, she came over and she asked me to show her how to do makeup looks. Not even makeup looks, but she asked me to teach her to do a makeup look. And I told her, like, bring over your makeup kit. We have to know what we're working with. And she brought me some new products, like super new, brand new products that she hasn't opened yet. The first thing that came across my mind that, oh my god, she wasted so much money because she purchased wrong colors and wrong shades. She had olive undertone, and most of these products that she purchased, they were for maybe like not even neutral, but some of these products were for cool tones and some of these products were for neutral undertones, and she had no product whatsoever for olive undertone. And I told her that she purchased wrong colors and wrong shades and that she had to go and consult someone first before she had to do that. And then after we were done, she said that she would probably need to buy a notebook so she could write down all the secrets and things to keep in mind. Another really short story to tell and share with you guys. I had a colleague about 2 years ago, and she told me that I actually was to blame because she wanted to do a makeup look. She went to some makeup shop and then she purchased some stuff, but she didn't know how to do makeup, and they, like her and her husband, they were laughing so hard because that was a huge disaster, and she told her she looked like a clown. That's why to get something like this, I believe it's not bad. Like, my makeup is not really bad. It's not scaring anyone off, and it doesn't look like a clown, except for maybe a little bit of grain. But most of this makeup looks, it takes years of practice. I'm not a makeup artist. I'm not someone who's really good at like painting, not a painter. You've guessed it, but I'm someone who's been practicing certain things. But I'll tell you that you can start small first. Let's dive into this video. I have lots of other videos that I'm gonna link down below in the description box where you can find your perfect undertone and your perfect shade. I have another video where I share lots of things about foundation, which is your favorite foundation, probably if you want to have a full coverage foundation or maybe light coverage, medium coverage. So I cover lots of these things in the video about foundations. Dewy, matte, whatever. And today, it's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to show you basic products that you probably would need. And we're going to start with a moisturizer. The first thing that you would need is to moisturize your face under all this makeup that you're going to be having all over your face. And as for moisturizer, I actually go to some sunscreen as well. So it's a combination of both a moisturizer and sunscreen. Some people love super hydrated skin. That's why they would go to some products that contain not only sunscreen, but some moisturizer and sunscreen as well. And this is the must-have, I'd say, and this is something that you would probably have even if you don't really want to do anything with makeup, just for everyday usage if you go out and you face sun. The second product that I have my doubts, this is not a must-have in my opinion, but as Nikki Tutorials would have said, not to prime is a crime. That's a crime that I do regularly because I don't really see a huge difference if I have this primer on, face primer on, or if I don't have it. It's something that you should keep in mind, that maybe you have super oily skin and you would go to some face primers that would control these oils, or if you have dry skin, that would add some extra hydration to your skin. And it depends on, I do know that Nikki Tutorials herself did a review on this particular primer, face primer, and she said that was good, that was really nice. Maybe for some full coverage techniques, face primer is a must. In my opinion, face primer is something that you might skip this step. So it's not something that I would say that's a must. In my case, it's something that I add in my routine as some extra hydration. Then you would need to choose, do you need a foundation, or you can skip this step. It's really important to understand what you're aiming for. If you need foundation to cover some redness, to cover some problem areas, that's one thing. But I know that lots of girls, and me personally, I don't use foundation during summertime most of the time because it's really hot. It's literally melting, and I'm sweating in foundation. That's why I would probably skip this step and go to some things like concealer only. But if you're like a girly that needs some coverage, like full coverage, or just some coverage to hide some redness over your face, then I would go to some foundation. As for undertones, I will go back to this topic real quick. I personally thought I was cool tone girl, but honestly turned out that I was a neutral tone. But you know what? It's really important to keep in mind that all of us, most of us, have this redness all over the face. And if you try to see that, oh, I have redness, then I must be a cool tone or like pink tone, it's not that simple. I would say that if you go back to your neck or down to your chest, maybe your hands, most of these spots do not have this redness as we have over our face. That's why it's not the best test to take when you're looking for some undertone answers. I watched so many different videos how to identify that you have undertone, like neutral or cool tone or yellow, olive, whatever. And the only thing that really helped me out, I was comparing myself to my husband. So my husband, he's a cool tone, like pink undertone guy, and I'm like a neutral undertone, because I was comparing my hand to his hand, and he had this like visible pink undertone, and he still has this visible undertone, like pink undertone. I have more like neutral undertone, yellowy, neutral sort of undertone. When I lived in China, I saw like maybe the majority of people had this yellow undertone, and that's something that is probably going to be suitable for certain nationalities and for certain groups of people. But it's up to you. It's something that you would probably keep in mind. If you have some friend and you feel like you have different undertone, I would go and compare hands with this person, because maybe this way you can identify which undertone is your skin. So it's just a little bit in-depth description. I know it. We're moving on. So foundation, again, it's optional. And when you pick your foundation, I would definitely go to some local shop and ask some consultant which is your undertone. And it's going to be much better if you consult someone. It can be Sephora, Ulta, any shop. And then when you know your undertone, you can go home and you come back home and purchase something that is your undertone. Most of the websites, they have this range of colors, and they say like cool tone, warm tones, or neutral tones. Depends on. So another option, if you're not a huge fan of foundation and coverages, like lots of coverages, then I would go to some concealers. You can have two options. The first concealer, the one that I have from Sephora, this one is 05 Fair, this one is 05 Fair, both of them for neutral undertones, but this one is lighter. It's just the color is almost white. Look at that. It's super pale. It's really liquid compared to my Essence concealer. This one is for neutral undertone. This one is a little bit closer to my skin tone and to my skin color than this one. This one is to brighten up your under eyes. This one is for concealer moment as well, but it's not given that like white pigment as most concealers are designed to create. And I'll say that this concealer I would use for my under eye area. First of all, it's not that liquid, it's not that runny. That's why I love this formula a little bit more than this one. This Sephora concealer I would use for some areas like my forehead, to clean a little bit my sides, maybe for my nose area. This is really good because it's a little bit more spreadable. The liquid, it's super liquid. I don't really like it for my under eye area. It's really similar to this Essence concealer, and it's almost the same, but I haven't noticed any difference. This one is cheaper, this one is a little bit more expensive, and this one is, it's good, but I haven't noticed a huge, like, tremendous difference. This one I would go to if I use it for my less makeup days when I just apply concealer and powder on top. And this one I would use if I have some foundation on. And even if I don't have foundation on, I would just use this for some spots that I've mentioned earlier. And this one is for under eye area. Another really important question to cover before we move on, it's a little bit about bruises or dark circles underneath. And in case you have dark circles or bruises underneath or something like that, some high pigmentation, then of course you would need to go to corrector palette. Corrector palette is, I would go to something that you would probably need and you would probably use, because there are lots of corrector palettes that have green and blue and orange and pink and silver and blue and whatever, and you would say, oh, well, I don't really need that much. Why? And neutral tone or like warm tone girl would use something with a cool undertone. Practically you won't use it. That's why I would go to some small palettes that have some certain things to discolorate, like to neutralize. And I have another video where I talk about different colors, how you can neutralize certain areas, neutralize some certain problematic areas, because it's just a lot of things to cover and I don't really want to waste my time today. This is a corrector palette. That's what I'm talking about. Lots of colors. I haven't used this one ever. I don't have any green pigment and I don't really need to cover anything with green. That's why I don't really use it. And of course, now we're going to talk a little bit about powder. This powder is must have. So it's really funny to say, but sometimes during some certain days, like no makeup days, I would go to some powder to modify my face from any oils, and that is it. I would probably skip even some concealer and use just some powder. So powder is a must-have, and I'd say moisturizer, sunscreen is a must-have. Try to choose some powder that is going to be mattifying. I love pressed powder. I do not love powder foundation. That's another topic. I have some video, not really pleasant, where I tried out some powder foundation. It didn't work out for me. That's why I would go for some regular powder. Not a huge fan of translucent powder, and a huge fan of loose powder, let's say. More like that kind of girl powder. Love it so much. But it's up to you guys. You can choose any powder. I guess it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't really make a difference. So yeah, I wouldn't go to some liquid products as a base to like contour face, because if you're a beginner, it might be too much and you might get into all of that. And if you are a beginner, then you might have lots of products that you have no idea how to use them. You have no idea what is your face shape, and you try to experiment. And if you have lots of these products, first of all, you can waste a lot of money. If you need to purchase them a little bit later, when you at least know how to apply certain makeup looks and when you know your face and some problematic areas that you want to cover, then you can go to some concealers. It's not a big deal to go and purchase something a little bit later. But most of these products you might not even use daily, because like someone told you, oh, I use liquid concealer with really dark shade, and you go, oh, then probably I need this. No, you don't. You don't need that. You have to keep in mind that you should start small with minimum products, and then you can add to this. It's important. And if you try to choose between contour palette or liquid contours, I would go to some powder contour palettes. It's much easier to tone down any contour if it's powdery contour. For example, you've applied too much, and I did some videos where I showed you how I correct my mistakes. And most of the time, it's really, really simple to fix these problems if you have powder contours. With a beauty blender and with some setting spray. By the way, these are must-haves as well, but a little bit later. So this is a must-have. If you don't have, if you have a super pale skin, or not even pale skin, if you just have beautiful deep skin tones, you can skip face contour and go straight to blush. I know that lots of people, I myself do this from time to time for no makeup days, or if I'm in a hurry, or if I just don't feel like I have that I want to create something crazy and extra, then I would use a little bit of concealer, some powder, and blush. That's it. Not even using any contour. Or if you want to have some contour, of course, go for it. I know there's some bronzers and contour sticks and whatever. I know that people might use some contour sticks that we have this gray undertone. Not a huge fan. I know that gray undertone can work for someone, but for some people, it's gonna look dull and it's gonna look like mud. And I would go to some warm shades and warm colors if it's the case for you guys. Just keep in mind it. So we hit some contour, blush, and of course highlighter. As for highlighter, you can have two options. Both of them are suitable for your skin tones and colors and whatever. You can choose some blush. This is regular blush. I crushed that, so it's just my personal, it's my curse. I break things every single time. Well, this is my Wet n Wild Rainbow Highlighter. I've been having this for literally ages. And this one is from Moa Makeup Academy. And you can see this, like, it has some blue sparkles and blue shimmers. And I know that it's basically for someone with cool undertone, maybe with neutral undertone as well. This one is a little bit like subtle highlighter for daytime. And look at this highlighter. I love it. It's so freaking pretty. But it might be a little bit extra. So if you don't really want to do something extra daytime makeup look, I would go to something less pigmented, a little bit more subtle, a little bit less bright. I'm going to be mentioning real quick one thing, that I'm not a huge fan of gold highlighter, though it looks really nice and fine with my neutral undertone. But I love more like cool undertone highlighters. It's looking a little bit better with my makeup, and I love it better this way. I know that if you want to save some money, you can go to some palettes that already have different range of blushes and even contour. So here's my BH eyeshadow palette. You can see this is a blush row. Sometimes I use this color as my contour and this one or this one as my blush. It's up to you guys. If you want to save some money, you can purchase a contour palette or just some eyeshadow palette, and use these colors as your contour. It's to save some money. And then as some sort of, like, I guess that's pretty much it for foundation. And I would go to some Fix and Spray. This is important. So Fix and Spray is a must. That is something that I do every single time. I love Essence Fix and Sprays because they are free from oil and alcohols. Most of the time, I feel it's really important. And then you need a beauty blender. First of all, you have to know your placement, like where to place your contour, how to do that, how to do this, that, if you've overpowered your face with all these contours and colors. And there where it comes some Fix and Spray. If you've applied too much of it, then you just spritz it all over your face and use your beauty blender, wet beauty blender, and just dab this all over your face. And this routine is gonna take off some extra powders, extra colors, and you're gonna end up with even and beautiful foundation. Another topic that I completely forgot to mention is brows. I do not have brows. Most of my brow routine and techniques were questionable, but right now I'm pretty much satisfied with my brow routine. So I use the same color, my hair color, let's say, brow pencil. I have one from Essence. This is the color Blonde 05. Again, I have lots of 05 colors. Then I would go to a brow gel, and on top of that brow gel, I'll use this NYX Professional Makeup. This is Brow Tint Pen to create this small like extra hair, some extra volume for my brow. It's optional. If you have bushy, beautiful brows, you can go to just some brow gel or a little bit of brow gel and this tint pencil. Or if you don't, and if you like literally have no brows, as I do not have any brows, then you could definitely use some brow pencil. And that's just 3 products that I would use every single time. These brow pencils, they're off within like, I don't know, 1 month, maybe less than a month. And I'd say that during my days, no makeup days, these 3 products are a must for me, and some mascara. And that's pretty much it. I would go with no powders, no concealers, nothing else, just mascara and my brow products. That's something that I do, maybe a little bit of a lip gloss. Then we moved to a little bit different section, my eyes. So it's really important if you are going to be doing some eye makeup look. I know that lots of makeup artists and makeup gurus, they use concealer as a base. I'm not a huge fan of a concealer. And by the way, if we're talking about concealer, I'm more like liquid concealer girl instead of thick formula concealers, because they are going to sit in your crease lines. If you love it, that's one thing. If you don't like it, I would go to liquid option and do not use a lot of this concealer. Just use a little bit here, a little bit there, and pat this with your finger. So I would go to some eye primer, but I remember I tried out Makeup Revolution eye primer. It didn't work for me. It was awful. And I tried Morphe eyeshadows with my Makeup Revolution primer with some concealers. It didn't work for me as well. If you're still gonna use some concealer as your base, then thick formulas are better for your eye base. So keep it in mind. For your foundation, it's better to use liquid products. For your eyes, it's better to use some thick products. It's just my personal favorite thing to do. And yeah, I use NYX primers. Most of NYX primers were good. And I did have my waterproof eyeshadow primer from NYX, but it's out of stock and I can't find it anywhere else. Then, as for eyeshadows, I would go and purchase some eyeshadow palette. It's always better to have some palette instead of one color only, because one color only is going to be a little bit pricier than if you buy an eyeshadow palette. My favorite eyeshadow palette are from BH Cosmetics, but I love BH Cosmetics with neutrals, with neutral eyeshadows. It's just some browns or pinks or something like that. With colorful eyeshadows, I don't really think BH has mastered this skill to produce colorful eyeshadows. No offense, there are definitely better options on the market for colorful eyeshadows. So I love this colorful eyeshadow palette. This is neutral undertones, neutral colors. It has pinks, it has orange colors, it has some brown and shimmers at the same time. Guys, everything that you need if you start doing makeup, or you can go to some different eyeshadow palette. This one is from BH as well, and it has beautiful brown eyeshadows that most of people, the majority of people, do really use daily, like browns and some nudes and some shimmers. That's the combination that I see most of the time. Lots of people all over internet or someone that I talk to, they do actually use lots of neutrals and browns or some pinks. Buy one eyeshadow palette and then you see where it goes, because maybe you're not going to use eyeshadows, you don't really like eyeshadows, or if you're not a huge fan of eyeshadows, at least you're not going to have 20 eyeshadow palettes that you're not using. It's better to start with some small eyeshadow palette or just big eyeshadow palette, but has a lot of options, and starts with neutrals. Or maybe you can buy small palette with bright colors and small palette with brown colors or bronzy colors for everyday use. Then I would definitely go for some eyeliner. My eyeliner is a must for me. I always use eyeliner. Or you can use some black pencil, smudge this out, and use some of this color. But still, black eyeliner is a must for me. I would probably use it for my no makeup days as well. And of course, mascara. Mascara is a must-have, I guess, for all of you. It's just something that I don't really want to talk about. It's a must. About my makeup puff I love using for my powders. And not a huge fan of brushes. But, another topic that I forgot to hit today, you would definitely need some brush set. Well, I definitely choose brush over Beauty Blender for my foundation, to transfer my foundation, but you can use, it's optional, you can use Beauty Blender or brush. Depends on, like, if you need a full coverage, then it's better with a Beauty Blender. If you need like light coverage or medium coverage, it's probably better with some brush. And I would definitely recommend some angled brush. This is a must for you guys if you're doing your contour. It's so easy and it's much better. Because like when I try to do my contour with this brush, it's really hard. It doesn't have the shape that I am aiming for. But this shape is much better. You can see that it's given the angle that I need and it's matched my contour. So this way, it's like my contour is all over the place. And with this angle brush, you're just placing, then flipping and bringing this up. And that's something that I do not clean my area a lot because of this brush. It's really good. I found this from one of other makeup artists, and I'm obsessed with angle brush. Then it's just like real quick, fluffy brush for foundation, angle brush for like some contour, and maybe makeup puff or just regular brush to transfer your powders. Then I would go to some highlighter brush, or you can use Beauty Blender as your highlighter, like to transfer your highlighter. Another option as well. And I'd say that as for brushes, I would definitely go and purchase some brush set. It's definitely going to be the best option, but if you don't really have lots of money and you want to purchase some individual brushes, I would go to 3 main brushes that are really important, like 4, okay, 4 brushes. Pointy, tiny brush. This one is really good for detailing. Important to maybe blend out some pencil, smudge out some pencil. Then I would go to some flat brush. This one is from Beauty Bay. Love it. It's much better because it's not as thick as my BH brush. You can see that. It's try to find thinner option, and the option that I have, another one from BH, it's not that perfect and it's not that good. It's too short. You can see it's extra short. So I would go to a long option and a thin one. This is your perfect brush. This one is too thick, this one is too short, and this one is perfect. It's not too thick, it's not too short, it's just the perfect length. It's the perfect brush, in my opinion. Concealer brush. So these are 2 options, like must-haves in my opinion. Then you would need to have some blending brush for like crease or anything else. This is a blending brush. You can go to a bigger option, but this one is a little bit too big. Maybe this one. Depends on guys. Just I love Morphe brush. This is good. Probably this one is the best one for crease moments, or maybe this one. It's just, it doesn't really matter. You can choose this one or this one. Both of these brushes are really good. The difference is this brush is similar with this one. These 2 brushes are similar, but this one is bigger. It's a little bit bigger. So it's going to be a little bit more messier if you try to blend out. This one is much better for crease moments. This is the crease brush. It has to be a little bit smaller, but still fluffy. And that's pretty much it, I guess. I've covered this all. As for brushes, you're going to need 6 or 7, or this one. It's optional. You would need to purchase maybe like 6 products, 6 brushes, or 7 brushes, or a makeup puff, and of course beauty blender. Definitely need beauty blender. And I completely forgot about my lips. As for lips, I would go to a lip gloss. If you want to have some matte lipstick, or not even matte lipstick, I would go to any lipstick that you need. Maybe something like that, nude, and some lip pencil. And by the way, last but not least thing, I would always say that's a must to have black pencil in your kit, brown pencil in your kit. It's always good to have them. It's always good to have them. That's pretty much it. I'm going to show you real quick one more time, short option, what you would need as a must-have, and some long option, what you need to have if you want to have like full coverage, light coverage, whatever. So again, moisturizer and sunscreen. It can be both. You can separate them. Powder is a must-have. Concealer, optional, but I would probably still must-have. Blush or contour palette. Like, either way, highlighter is optional, let's say. Scent spray is a must. Beauty blender is a must. A couple of brushes is a must. It's still optional. You can actually use some contour palette or your blush as your eyeshadows. Of course, mascara, brow products, like definitely must for me. Primer, eye primer if you need that, and eyeliner. As for a little bit longer side of my list, must have, again, some moisturizer, then face primer, kind of optional but still, then foundation, liquid concealer, then powder, then contour palette and blush, maybe some highlighter, but it's still optional, brow products, mascara, eye primer, and eyeliner. And of course, some random eyeshadow palette with neutral eyeshadows, 7 brushes, or 6 brushes and a makeup puff, beauty blender, scent spray. There's nothing else to add, and of course some lipstick, lip gloss, whatever guys you need. Sometimes I do not use any lip gloss or any lipstick. I forget about them. That is pretty much it. By the way, if you need some eyelashes, some falsies, you can always purchase some falsies. I have one from Essence and from BH Company. These are pretty much affordable. I wouldn't use their glue because it's always really bad and they're falling off. The glue that I use is a Duo. This is probably the best in the market. Most of the time, I would skip falsies and I use them only for some weddings or some like events. And that's pretty much it, guys. I hope this was helpful, and I hope if you are a beginner, to not afraid to step on this path. Because makeup is always, like from my experience, makeup is always given this extra confidence. It's not a mask, as someone would say. Weird people. It's something that is just bringing the beautiness out. Like, you have beautiful lashes, mascara is going to emphasize your lashes. You have beautiful brows, but they're too thin and too small and invisible because you have white hair, then you would emphasize your brows. I love makeup. I'm a makeup geek. I am a huge fan of makeup, and it took me some practice. It took me a while. Sometimes I even stayed home and practiced with makeup and played with my makeup and showed my parents only what I was up to. But it's always fun and creative to be on this path and maybe join some other people. And believe me or not, you're definitely gonna bring some attention to your persona if you use makeup, because people are gonna start noticing you from this gray mass of people. Of course, there's some certain days when I do not use makeup at all, but I can definitely count these days on one hand where I did not use makeup and I'm out in public. Most of the time I would use at least mascara. So yeah, guys, I love you so much. I really hope this video was helpful. I'm going to be definitely posting down in the description box some other really useful links, useful videos about foundations, undertones, colors, and whatever. It's going to be very, very helpful. Do not skip this videos if you're a beginner. And I hope I'm going to see you in my next video. I love you. Subscribe. See you next time. Bye-bye.